Hey, welcome to the Takhar podcast, episode 242, the only podcast specifically to help real estate professionals do more deals and create a business around your life and not the other way around. Today's topic is super near and dear to my heart. It's going to be all things on how to master the art of making sales calls to book more appointments that inevitably creates more deals. Exactly what I know you guys are watching and listening for when it comes to the Takhar podcast. I also want to welcome my live community on YouTube, and it pays. Yes, you heard me say it right. It pays for you to be live on YouTube. Why? Well, because I always take the Q&A section from the chat group here on YouTube and answer your questions right away at the end of this episode. But if you're listening while you're taking your dog for a walk, or you're on the treadmill, or you're maybe just going for a walk or taking a stroll in a car right now, if you do have questions and you couldn't watch live, you can always throw it in the comments or hit me up on any of the social media platforms. But as I mentioned, when you are watching live, get ready, because moving forward with the Takhar podcast, if you're watching live, I'm going to be giving away some stuff. I don't know what it's going to be. Myself and my crew here, Clyde and Bo, we're going to be talking, and we have been chit-chatting recently about what type of giveaways that sales professionals want. Maybe you, as a viewer or listener right now, can give us some suggestions, but I'm definitely going to be giving away stuff for the people that took the time to be watching live. Because look, I know that we don't have a lot of time as business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals. At the end of the day, though, if you're driving right now, I like to use the strategy of NET, N-E-T. No extra time is needed. You're driving, and now you can actually be educating yourself on tips and tactics and strategies on how to do more deals. I want to, though, get right into the meat of the conversation today and speak about the importance of mastering this skill. And it's a skill that not people are born with, that you can actually learn. So you have no excuses after today's episode, because I'm going to give you everything that I know and I've been implementing personally in my real estate business, but now also helping hundreds upon hundreds of real estate professionals live through my coaching programs as well. And if you have not yet gotten information on any of our coaching programs, jump over to ftguacademy.com and you can get all the information there. We also have a link that you can book a free business consultation where we can start to get a little idea of where you are in your business, where you want to go. We'll show you how we might be able to help. If it's a match, great. At the end of the day, I can tell you, after doing thousands upon thousands of business consultations, like just in the past 2.5 years alone, I can tell you, myself and my team, we hear from the real estate professionals directly, and that means both real estate agents and our cousins in the industry, our mortgage professionals slash loan officers. They're telling us, like, wow, even that 15, 20-minute conversation, I got a lot of value from. It's free. There's no cost for it. You can find it in the description of this episode as well. Side note, Bo and Clyde, we're going to make sure that we throw that in there. Also, in the description, there will be resources about what we're talking about today, which is mastering the art of what to say on sales calls to book more appointments that convert into more deals. First and foremost, I got to touch on, why is this important? Why is this the topic that is so near and dear to my heart? Because, see, I've been in the sales industry for coming up to 30 years now. Like, it's really the only thing I've ever done in my life. And at the end of the day, I don't tell you that to impress you guys. I tell you that because I would be an idiot if I didn't pick up some patterns along the way, like how to speak to people, what to say, sometimes what not to say, handling objections, what energy to bring, the tonality, all things I'm going to be covering in today's episode. But the most important thing that I've learned over the 30 years in the sales industry is that the process in the funnel of sales right? If you think of sales as a funnel, and you guys have all heard that word, which is essentially you need to meet people, you then need to stay in touch with them, you then need to try to sell them something. But that part in between of staying in touch with them and trying to help them with your product or service, that middle part is called an appointment. Like appointment, consultation, meeting, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. I call it an appointment for today's conversation. You're not going to have a shot at them, especially as a real estate professional, right? Because it's such a large purchase. So without actually sitting down with someone and having a consultation, you might call it a listing appointment, a buyer appointment. I call it more of a real estate action plan, a higher level of conversation that you're having in terms of where the client wants to go in their real estate portfolio. You're not going to be able to help them without having that sit down. Now, to have that sit down, you have to book it. Yeah, I know you've gotten lucky, and so have I. But we can't count on being lucky to actually create a business around our life. We can't just hoping and spraying and praying. That shit's not going to work moving forward in 2024 and beyond now. You actually have to create deals. You have to go out and be proactive. I know you probably got into this business because maybe you saw, one of those shows on HGTV or Bravo, or someone told you at one point, you're so good with people because you're nice and you're kind and you should get into the real estate business. And you thought, shit, everyone's just going to call me and say, come list my home. I want to invest. I want to buy a property. And then that didn't really happen, right? And so there is another way. In fact, there's an easier way. We don't have to chase our own tail as dogs do. Like, there is an easier way, and there's a more predictable, sustainable way to do it, because I've been doing that out of my 30 years in the sales industry, 20 of those, 2 friggin' decades, guys. Like, again, I want to emphasize the fact that I would be the biggest idiot. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I would be the biggest idiot if I didn't pick up on some patterns, as I mentioned. And so the number one thing that I've noticed is that most real estate professionals are not consistent with making sure that they're reaching out to people, either outbound, inbound, social media, through events, with the objective of booking a consultation. And the easiest way to do that is by picking up the phones. For my friends in my community that's been with me for a very long time, the best exercise for a salesperson is this one right here, calling people. Why? Because majority of other real estate professionals are not doing it. So there's a lot of opportunity. And at the end of the day, putting aside getting lucky and getting that email that says, come list me, you have to go outbound. Now, if that scares you, that worries you, I think it's time for you to look in the mirror and possibly get the fuck out of the business. I'm coming hard on a Friday. Side note, every single Friday we're coming out with a Jazz Takhar podcast episode for my people that are coming on live now. I know that might be very hard for you on a Friday morning to hear, but if you're not willing to put in the work and go outbound and be proactive in booking appointments, why should you deserve the results that you want to get? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the exact definition of insanity. And if you're getting the results already that you're wanting, why not have more? I just was speaking to a realtor on my way in today to the studio, and he's like, Jazz, man, I'm doing 45, 50 deals a year. Like, why do I need to get any type of strategies and tips? I'm like, well, I don't know, fucking 75 and 100 deals sound better to me than 45 and 50. $3 million a year is better than $1.5 million and $2 million. You could do a lot more with it, help more people with it. And so even if you're getting the results, we can actually get more results and help you scale your business with this process that I'm going to be speaking about today. So I've touched on the reason why I wanted to choose this topic for today's episode, because setting up appointments / consultations is the lifeblood of your business. Without them, you're not going to be able to help people buy, sell, and invest into real estate. It's just not going to happen. Now, to have more appointments, we need to master the art of what to say on phone calls. This is coming from data. I'm not just making this up. I'm not just speaking about the experience I've had in past years. So I wanted to make sure that I brought you the most recent data in my real estate business in the last 90 days, okay? So first full quarter of the year, Jan 1 to March 31st, we have booked 437 of the appointments that I want you to book through the strategies and the tactics and the tips I'm going to be covering in today's episode. 436 appointments with this exact script and process that I'm going to be covering today. Now, out of the 436, we have taken 226 appointments. Out of 436, we've so far taken 226 appointments. The others are still coming up, right? Because we've scheduled them out 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes we have to schedule it out a month, just depending on the time of the client as well as our schedule. Out of the 226 appointments taken, we have written 26 transactions. Now, that's at almost a 10% closing ratio. In fact, it's exactly 10%. The numbers will always tell you the story that you need to know. And if you have not yet listened to episode 240, this is episode 242, so 241, I actually dive into, in that episode, the sales metrics that you need to make sure that you are tracking, because what you don't measure won't get done. So make sure that you go back to that episode. It might even be in the episode description link. If you're on YouTube or Spotify, you can just scroll up and down. You'll see that episode 241. It's about what metrics you need to cover. And the reason we cover those we measure those metrics is because then we have an idea of where can we get better, what's going really well, where can we get better. 10% closing ratio on those appointments. Now, some of you might say, well, Jazz, like, what the fuck happened with the other 90%? Or that's a lot of appointments. Well, I have big, ambitious goals for every single year for my team and specifically my core group that I work with. And so I need to do a lot more appointments. In fact, my target for the year right now is at 1,300 appointments, because I feel like if I'm not going to stay at a 10% closing ratio, I think it's going to get better over time as my callers, as my team, as myself do more and more. You just get better over time. And so I think I'm going to flirt around a 15 to 18% closing ratio. Out of that 1,300, now I'm going to be flirting with about 225 to 230 transactions at the end of the year. That's kind of where I usually end up every year. But if I was never tracking it, I would never know, A. B, most importantly, if I did not make the outbound phone calls to my list, and I'm going to talk about specifically who you should be calling first. There's other types of people that you want to be calling and other lists that you want to get to, but the first kind of group that you want to get to, if I didn't make those outbound phone calls, guys, I wouldn't have those appointments. The other 90%, by the way, they didn't say no. In my brain, to me, they just said not yet. Meaning, well, I'm not ready for your product or your service. Like, I'm not ready to invest, Jazz. I'm not ready to buy. I don't need to list my property. Thank you for doing this appointment. And side note, I will be covering the actual appointment, the consultation, what I call the real estate action plan in future episodes. But if we didn't do those, we never would have been able to do the 26 transactions. Maybe 4 of them. Like if I actually think about it, maybe 4 out of the 26 we could have done because somebody would have just emailed us. But in a market like right now, and this is right across North America, so to all my viewers and listeners, and I know I got some friends that are part of my nation right across the world, but I mean specifically in North America, I mean the market's not as hot and as sexy as it was in the previous 2, 3, 4 years. And so we have to go outbound and be more proactive to get our appointments. If I never made those calls, I would never have the 226 appointments, and I probably only, as I mentioned, would have done 4 to 5 transactions that maybe I did get lucky with and they just came inbound. And so now the question becomes, who should we be calling? First and foremost, again, go back to, I think it was episode 239. I could be wrong, but a couple of episodes ago, I spoke about the importance of having a CRM and how to nurture that CRM. The CRM is a customer relationship management software. It's a little bit better than just having an Excel sheet. But for some of you who just have an Excel sheet, I'm okay with that because that's better than just writing it on a piece of paper or a napkin or a little booklet, people's names, numbers, emails, and contact information. But where you want to start is with your warm list of people, because they already know you. They probably like you. And I get it, they might not trust you yet as a real estate professional, but at least that's a better place, in my opinion, to start than with a cold list. Somewhere, a list that maybe you bought from some type of marketing agency that promised you that they're going to get you a bunch of leads that are of people who are thinking about buying or selling or, investing. Or maybe you did some Facebook ads or some Google ad words, but they gave you the 967-1111 or Mickey Mouse at hotmail.com contact information. Why call those people first? They don't know you. They obviously don't like you yet, and 1,000% don't trust you. Now, I know for a lot of people, it might just be tough to call that warm list, because you might say, well, Jazz, I don't have a lot of people. Go back to that episode, because I also spoke about where to get the names and numbers. You have the names and numbers. They're already in this device, which is the phone, and they're also in your email list. They're also in your social media, people that you know. So creating the list is going to take a little bit of time, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. Let me say that again. If it was easy, everyone would do it. There's a reason there's a top 1% in this industry, and then there's everybody else. Because the top 1% do what 99% of people don't want to do, because they're fucking lazy, or they don't know. They just want to dream about shit, but they never want to actually put in the work. You're not getting the results you want because you're not putting in the work. Period. You're not getting the results that you want because you're not putting in the work. If I send my boys, Boy and Clyde, as my videographers and editors and record your last 48 hours, would you pay yourself the income you want? Like, I know you guys want to make $500,000 in this business, $1 million, $5 million, whatever that number is. Maybe it's $100,000. If my two boys recorded your last 48 hours, do you deserve that income? And I have a funny feeling 99% of you don't. And so the reason I'm coming in hot today is because I want to see you win. I don't care if you ever join my coaching programs. It doesn't matter. I want to get the email from you, really and truly, that says, Jazz, man, that episode that you did 242 or some other talk I saw you speak at on stage, like that was the one that got me to take action. And so that's why I am coming in with a lot of energy today, because this is not stuff that I think might work, guys. This is working for me. It's working for my team. It's working for my coaching clients. Like, it's not just a good idea anymore. You need to make the calls. I'm going to give you everything. The only thing I can't do is call your clients. You don't want me to call your clients because I'm going to close them and I'm going to get the commissions. I want you to be able to do this, because what I'm making you do is not going to be that tough. So you got to take that time to create that list. Now that you know the difference between the warm leads and the cold leads, I want to touch on when you should be making these phone calls and why. I believe, and this might be different for some of you, but 99% of you should be making the calls first thing in the morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I pick a 3-hour window. And the reason I pick a 3-hour window, because it takes a little bit of time to get into the groove. You also got to make notes, which I'm going to touch on how to prepare for the call. But if we don't schedule it, all this is just a good idea. There's actually no implementation. There's no execution. And there's a billion ideas out there. The ones that actually hit are the ones that get executed on, and the ones that get implemented. And so if you're not scheduling this prospecting time, I can tell you you're going to fall off the wayside. You're going to do what I see so many in this industry do. They get pumped because they heard today's episode. They get inspired. They're like, damn, man, Jazz really lit a fire under my ass. I get the DMs all the time. I get those kind of emails all the time. Thanks, Jazz, for fucking inspiring me. And then when I check in with them in 90 days later, 60 days later, 30 days later, sometimes 24 hours later after they come to my events, you know who you are. You come to the events. You do great when I'm with you making phone calls, and then I check in on you, and you didn't make the phone calls because you got busy with nonsense. That's always going to happen, guys. Life will always throw shit at you. You have to have some type of boundaries around your schedule. Schedule this from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., a 3-hour window. And all I'm asking you to do every single day for the next 90 days that you're working. So if you're working 5 days a week, awesome. Those 5 days a week, just for argument's sake, let's call it Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Don't go into your head like people are not going to pick up in the morning. Nonsense. I already have the results. I've already seen it work. Yes, people are not going to pick up at that time, but people are not going to pick up at 7 o'clock at night either. People are going to pick up at 7 o'clock at night. Like, you can't be thinking about and worrying about, oh my God, people are at work. In today's day and age, everyone has their cell phones. People are answering calls all the time, okay? 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 3-hour window. I'm asking you to make 10 outbound calls to your warm list. That's it. For those 5 days a week, for the next 90 days. I want you to come back to me, email me, come back to this video, say, Jazz, you're garbage, it didn't work. Or Jazz, it worked, thank you so much. That's all I'm asking you to do. Next 90 days, every day that you work, call it 5 days a week, 9 to 12, you make 10 outbound calls. Don't make the 11th, and I'll tell you why. Because if you make the 11th, I know what's going to happen. You're going to do that for 3 days, and then you're going to fall off. 10 calls a day to your warm list, which again, if you haven't created this warm list, take the time, put the headsets on, put some music on, start creating this list. Go back to episode 239, 238. You'll see it. One of those episodes, you'll see what list I'm talking about. It's the warm list. Now, when you're about to make these phone calls at 9 and 12, please do not make them in the car when you're driving. Why? Because you can't take notes. Which leads me to my next point. When you're sitting at your desk, at home, at the office, open up your laptop, open up your desktop. You're going to have your calendar open. You need to have your calendar open because you need to know when you can take those appointments that you're going to be booking today. Okay? You also need to have your CRM open. If you're scared to invest the $50 a month, get out of the business. $600 a year to make a couple of $100,000. Like, come on. If you're not willing to spend the $50 a month on some CRM, and don't overthink it, they're all the same. Pick one and just run with it. The best CRM to use is to get is the one that you use. The best CRM to get is the one that you use. Okay, so it's $50 a month. Pick one. I don't care which one it is. You have that open with your calendar, and you start dialing. If for 5 minutes before you start dialing, you need to listen to fucking Rocky music, or you need to inspire yourself with some type of, Pac or Biggie or whatever. Those are my kind of songs. But get into it. I don't care what you need to do for the first 5 minutes to pump yourself up. But all I'm asking you to do is make those 10 phone calls. Okay? CRM's open so you can take notes while you're on the call. I highly recommend AirPods or some type of headset so your two hands are free. You can actually start making the notes into the CRM. You have the calendar open. Split the screen on your laptop and your desktop, guys. Okay? I don't have a laptop or a computer anymore for the last 6, 7, 8 years. But this is what I have all my team do. I have all my coaching clients do. It's what I did when I was doing those calls for 13, 14 years. Okay? Split the screen so you see your calendar, you see your CRM. Your phone is open and ready to make the phone calls, headset on. Now, I want you, the reason I said for the first, the 5 minutes before you start to make the phone calls, listen to the music, do whatever you need to do to get your energy up to a 10. I need you to be at an energy 10 before you make the phone call. Now, caveat. If you speak to somebody that might be older in age, maybe there's an accent they have, and they're having a hard time maybe understanding you or vice versa. I need you to bring your energy down. But the reason I say be at a 10, a lot easier to bring your energy down than get your energy up. It's a lot tougher. If you're at like a 5 out of 10 in energy, and then you call somebody that's at a high energy, like I'm really busy right now, but yeah, what is it, Jazz? And you're like speaking like this, and you're like, okay, Bo, could we set up an appointment? Like, they're gonna be like, what's going on, bro? Right? So I need you to be at a 10 of energy, and then you can bring it down to a 5. Tonality matters. This really matters. I highly recommend when I go into what the script, and for my people who are listening on a podcast right now, I'm doing air quotes because a script needs to be flexible. And what I'm going to give you is really objectives of what you want to do on this phone call, not a full blown out script, because if the person on the other line says something different than what is on that script, you're fucked. So don't have a script word for word. I'm going to give you the points that you need to hit. And as long as you hit those points in the order that I want you to hit them, you are going to effectively have more appointments than you have right now. I guarantee you it. I guarantee, I'll put my house on the line, that if you hit the points in the exact order, you make the phone calls 10 a day for the next 90 days, you will have more appointments. Not just because I'm just throwing these numbers out there, guys. I've seen it with my own eyes outside of me doing it. At first, it was just me, and then it was my team. But now it's people that I've never met. Within 30 minutes, they come into my events, and they're booking appointments because we're not using old school sales tactics. We're taking more of a consultative approach, more of an advisory, more of being an advisor, not a salesperson. And you're not necessarily selling in a hard way. And you'll understand as I go through what I want you to be doing on these calls. Okay? Now, here's the objective. You have 2 objectives on this phone call. I'm not going to give you a 67-point list of things that you need to worry about. You only need to worry about 2 objectives. Objective number 1, and the highest objective, is actually booking the appointment, booking the consultation. That's objective number 1. Now, if that doesn't happen, the second objective is to bring some type of value. I'm going to tell you what that means. But I know that's a word that's being thrown out there a lot these days on social and at events, and people are talking about you got to be valuable. You have to. I say it myself. But what I want to do a little differently is tell you actually the value that you should be bringing to your network of people as a real estate professional. Number 1 objective is booking the appointment. Number 2 is bringing value. And you bring value, in my opinion, in 3 ways, 3 possible ways to your network on this phone call. So they don't want to book the appointment? Fine. Then you still need to touch on the second objective, which is bringing them value, either about mentioning an upcoming event that you might have, an educational event, which I will be doing an episode on later on as well. Putting on an educational event, you're letting them know about it. That's bringing value. You're getting permission to stay in touch, meaning, Bo, the person I'm calling right now, is it okay if I stay in touch with you in the future so you can give me your opinion on some of the marketing I'm doing? Give me the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm okay with that. This way I don't spam you, Bo, and so I have your permission. I can tell you that 99% of people that you're speaking to on the phone just say, no, sure, send me the emails. And that's important because now every other week, if you're sending emails that are also valuable, more than just gardening tips, then he's seeing you. And when he's at work and someone mentions real estate, not that it's going to happen all the time, but you have a shot now of him saying, oh, right. Yeah, you got to call, like, hey, you know what? One of my agents, my buddies, my cousin, my friend, somebody I know that I met on social is now wanting, you should get in touch with that real estate agent. And then the third, one of these three you got to do, okay? The third way to bring value on that call, if you don't get the appointment, is getting that connection on social media. And outright saying, hey, like, are you on socials, Bo, the person I'm calling? Yeah, like, what's the one that you go on the most? Like, do you go on Instagram? You go on YouTube? You do? Hey, I would love to get your opinion on some of the content that I'm putting out there on Instagram or on YouTube or on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. Can we connect? Great. I'm just going to put you on speaker really quickly, and let's just get connected. He follows you. You follow him. Why is that important? Well, that's another touch point. That's another touch point. I don't want you to see the call as a failure if you don't get an appointment, because no calls are failures, even the ones where people don't pick up. Why? Because you're still building the rep. Even when the people say, don't ever call me again, that's not a failure. That's actually a huge success. Why? Because you're not going to waste time with them in the future. You're not going to waste their time. They're not going to waste your time. And now if you don't get the appointment and you get a connection on social media, that's actually a huge win. Because to think that you're going to call somebody and they're just going to say right away, I'm ready to buy, it happens. But that's not something that happens consistently enough. And so we need to take the approach of dating. We date a little, go for coffee, we go for lunch, we go for dinner, then we meet the parents. The same thing here has to happen when you're helping somebody with such a large ticket item. You're not selling a phone or mugs or pens or, booklets here, guys. These are hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's going to take a little bit of time to make sure that you do that whining and dining. And so if it needs to start with social media, then that's a great touch point. So 2 objectives. Number 1 is booking the appointment. Number 2 is providing some type of value, which can come from letting them know about an upcoming educational event where they can get free information, asking permission for you to stay in touch, to get their opinion on some of the marketing that you're doing through emails, and then the last thing being a social media connection. Now, as a resource in the description, you are able to click on the description and actually get live calls that I've made just to show you that I'm not full of shit. Just to show you how the actual process goes of booking the appointments. I'm giving you access in the description. There should be a link in the description that says access to my live calls. If you're watching live right now, it won't be there, but by the time you're watching the recording on YouTube, and if you're on a podcast platform, jump over to YouTube, send us an email at info@ftguacademy.com, info@ftguacademy.com, and just ask for the live video calls, okay? But what happens on these calls is I'm going to go through now the call process that happens. First things first, when you're calling people on your warm list, do not start the call with, hi, is this Bo? Because right off the bat, you now sound like a cold caller, especially when you're not cold calling because you know Bo. The most effective way to start the phone call is by saying, Bo? And he's going to say, yeah, who's this? Oh, Bo, it's Jazz. It's Jazz, and I'm giving you a call, and now I'm going to go into the process of the call. But I want to make sure that before you get to this next process of the call, you understand that you cannot start this phone call with, is this Bo? All right. You will not get the results that I know that you can get just by starting the call by the way I'm telling you. And I'm spending a lot of time there because I have a lot of data, because I have an office of about 500 people. Not my team is not 500, but I have an office of 500 people, which out of every single day, there's probably about 60, 70 people making phone calls. And I hear them making phone calls to people by saying, hi, is this Bo? And a small little shift by just saying, Bo. Side note, we as humans love hearing our name. We love it. Think about yourself. You like hearing your name. You like seeing your name. Since we were kids, since we came out of mommy, we were called something. And so let's make use of that. I'm going to give you, through my episodes here on Jazz Takhar Podcast, because this is the only podcast that helps real estate professionals do more deals and create a business around your life, not the other way around. Based on all my experience, I'm going to give you little hacks, but these small little tweaks can give you massive results because nobody else is really doing it. And that is where all the opportunity is. The best thing about making these phone calls and doing some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking to you about in future episodes, guys, is that there's not a lot of people playing. Like, there's no competition there. You know where all the competition lies in our business is door knocking, cold calling, sending out flyers, waiting for business to come. That's where all the competition is. But where the 1%ers play, there's not a lot. So, like, if you want more results, just do the stuff that the 1%ers are doing consistently. Now, as I mentioned the objectives, as I mentioned how to start the call, you now, just before, I should have mentioned this, just before you make the phone call to Bo, I always recommend, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of making sure that your CRM is open, what I want to make sure that you also have access to is their social media profile. Because, and just pick one or two, start with one just to make life easier. And just take a quick mental note of if anything happened recently in their life. You know, like something big, like maybe they got some type of promotion. Maybe they just, started a family. Maybe they moved. Maybe they mentioned the fact that they were watching the Cowboys game last night. All these little things can help you on the phone call to build rapport. The best way to build rapport right in that first 3 seconds is mentioning his name the way that I said for you to do. But then after that, if you can, pull on something, i.e., like, oh, like, you're a Cowboys fan too, Bo? Like, cool, man. You saw that game last night? Crazy how they won. Well, you probably wouldn't be saying that because as a Cowboys fan, you're probably saying that they lost. But now you built the rapport. You built the relationship. You got hopefully a chuckle out of them, right? Just another way to stack the card in your favors. We want to stack the cards as much as we can in our favor to help us close more deals. Now, as you go through this call, here's how it's going to sound. Bo, it's Bo, great. It's Jazz. It's been a while, man. I know we haven't spoken. Listen, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I wanted to give you a call because I have a lot of people in my community reaching out to me and mentioning about what's happening in the market and the interest rates. Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they going sideways? And so we started something, we have a sexy word for it. It's called a real estate action plan. Essentially, it's just a financial checkup from the neck up. We get a better idea of what you might need to or want to accomplish long-term in real estate. I'll show you some ways that we might be able to help. I emphasize the word might because we can't help everyone. When's usually good for you? During the day or the afternoon? It's about 20 minutes and there's no cost for this. It's usually done on like Google Meet. When's usually good for you? During the day or the afternoon? At 70% conversion rate, guys, people answer that question. And I'll tell you why. Because rather than saying when's a good day for you, you've now given the person on the other line what they really like as a human, and you do as well. If you just picture yourself walking into a store, the first thing that happens is the the sales associate says, hey, can I help you with anything? And you say no right away, even though you might have needed the help. But we're hardwired as humans to choose the path of least resistance. Hence why you don't say, what day is good for you? And stop there. You want to give people two options. Okay? When's usually good for you, Bo? During the day or the afternoon? Usually it's the afternoon, Jazz. I'm kind of free, somewhere between that 1 and 5 time. Great. What day's better for you? Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Thursday at 4 p.m.? You go right back into giving the two options. The example I always use is that it's generally easier to go to an ice cream truck where they offer you the chocolate or the vanilla ice cream, opposed to going to Baskin-Robbins and there's 68 flavors. It takes a little bit longer for you to choose, right? The chocolate or vanilla, you kind of choose really quickly. You kind of probably just choose even walking up to the ice cream truck. Again, we want to use experiences that we also have in real life and knowing that other humans go through it as well. We want to use that in our favor. And so both Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Thursday at 4 p.m. Now he's going to choose one thing, or he's going to choose one of those days, or he's going to say, sorry, man, what did you say like this is all about? Oh, let me just, I might have spoken really quickly. It's essentially a financial checkup from the neck up, Bo, where we find out what you're trying to possibly accomplish long-term in real estate. We'll show you how we might be able to help. And I emphasize the word might, Bo, because we can't help everyone. When's usually good for you? So see how I go right back to it. When is good for you? During the days or the afternoons? Now, you know that he said during the day, or the afternoon, so you'll go into the second option. So when is you, like, what is better for you, Bo? Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Thursday at 4 p.m.? And that in itself is the exact way to book appointments using the exact process that has gotten me in the last 90 days 436 appointments booked. If he says to you, well, can we just do it right now? I can completely understand that, Bo, but right now is the time because I have people reaching out and wanting to book these real estate action plans / financial checkup for the neck up. This is not the time, and I want to make sure that I'm prepared. Hence why I was asking the Tuesday at 2 p.m. or the Thursday at 4 p.m. But you said Thursday at 4 is better for you. I have you booked in. You're going to get a reminder email. It's already set up. It's going to be a Google Meet / Zoom. We'll do it for 20 minutes. There's no cost. And then we'll go from there. Get off the phone call. This is where I see people screw up. They jibber jabber too much. They talk too much. They talk themselves out of the fucking appointment. All the time I see it. Because that's when they go into how's the dog and how's the kids and all that. Do that stuff at the appointment on the Zoom. After you have the appointment booked, I need you to move to the next one now, because the more appointments that you take, the better chance you have to doing more deals. Sales is a numbers game. You might not like it, but it just is. The more people that you meet, the better chance you have to do more deals, the more money you make. Let me just repeat that for you. The more appointments you book, the better chance you have to do more deals, the more money you make. Period. You might not like it, but that's the business you're in. You have to meet more people so you have a better shot in helping them buy, sell, or invest into real estate. But the nice thing is that's where you make all the money. No more talking after you've said, amazing, great, I'll see you on Thursday. You have any questions, reach out. Boom, you're done. Move on to the next call. Now, I can't emphasize enough how much I need you to just test this. Just test this for the next 90 days. Here is your challenge. Your challenge is to do this for the next 90 days, 10 outbound calls to your warm list. Now, I know I've said this on social before and people were kind of ripping me in the comments like, what the fuck are you talking about? Only 10 calls? Like, you got to make more. I'm not cold calling here. I'm calling 10 warm people, and I would rather you make 10 than make only 3, or even worse, make 0. I need to work the muscle right now for you. 10 calls a day for 90 days. Report back here to let me know how it went. Come back to this video. Let me know in the comments section. Send me an email at info@ftguacademy.com. And also, as I mentioned a couple of times in this episode, there's upcoming episodes. I'm going to be talking about events. I'm going to be talking about this actual real estate action plan, the financial checkup from the neck up, how it sounds and what we actually do. But what I want from you guys, part of my community right now, is in the comments section, give me some ideas. Let me know. Like, moving forward, the team and I have made the decision, we're going solo. What does that mean? Well, 90% of the episodes that I do every Friday live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, every single Friday, I am going solo because I got a lot of shit to say about sales. It's the only thing I've ever done. I've had no other job my whole life. I was born to do this. I know it. I found the passion at 6 years old, and I'm not stopping. I never did. I just never got any other jobs. I was always in the sales industry. And so moving forward, like I said, I got a lot to say. But you can make it a little easier on me, as well as I can customize some of the episodes based on what you guys are going through in your business. Maybe it's like I need to scale. Maybe I need to build a team. Maybe, what technology should I be using? How do you actually convert? Like, how do we get more referrals? Whatever those topics are, whatever's going on in your business, throw us a comment in the comments section, and I will make sure that I will sit down with the team and build a full episode just based on what you're looking for. Now, to my friends watching live, I got my boy Justin Conoco. Don't call me unless you're coming to hang out. You need to call me because you're supposed to do an episode. I'm supposed to do a driving episode with you. So I look forward to seeing you there, Justin. Reach out. But you also had a question. How are you guys tracking conversions and follow-up appointments on the back end? Are you using a specific system or CRM? Yes. So for the last 6 years, Justin, I've been using HubSpot as my CRM, but I wanna warn everyone. HubSpot is one of the most expensive CRMs to use. It's approximately $16,000 to $17,000 US, so whatever it is, a little over $20,000 a year. And the reason I have that is because it offers me a little bit more than the other CRMs do because it's also my email design. It's more of a sales and marketing software, CRM, than just housing names, numbers, and follow-ups. Please, for the 99.99999% of you, don't even look up HubSpot. Don't waste your time. In terms of the CRM, go to Top Producer, Follow Up, KV Core, really Follow Up Boss or KV Core, you're going to win. It's $50-$60 a month, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but you'll be able to not only house all the names, numbers, and phone numbers, emails, the contact information, but also the follow-up call queues that you got to follow up with these people in 4 months. What do you say in 4 months? I'll be covering that in future episodes, but you don't need to look into it too much. But to you, Justin, because I know you also have a large team based out of London, if you're looking into buying anything or selling or investing into London, get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with my boy, Justin. He's just an awesome crew over there at Prime Brokerage. He's always there to help, but other than someone like Justin, if you have a team, HubSpot's not the one for you guys. Just go with a simple CRM. Other than that, I look forward to next Friday where I get to come see you guys live and I get to read some of your comments. Thank you and have yourself a kick-ass week.